Okay, we're back, and now we just need to save up, let's say about 200 quadrillion again, so that way we have enough cash to buy a bunch of these cells, which are quite expensive. I don't know exactly how many we need. We probably don't need 200 quadrillion, but just in case, that's a good enough number. And then once we have that, we don't have to click sell power ever again. The power, our cash is only to buy our components and to buy the upgrades. Once you have all the components you need and all the upgrades you need, there's no use for power. Let's see. Yeah, I can't get that. I don't need to spend the money on these guys. So yeah, that's it. After we get up to 200, we're probably good. Okay, one thing that you're going to sooner or later encounter is, now that we have this unlocked, if you go to options, so I'm going to do this as an experiment. If you go to options and you export, and then let's say you blow up, wait, didn't we do that already? Yeah, okay, so I guess it's not always. Maybe it's the condition I'm thinking. Okay, so sometimes when you import, when you go to import, so I'm going to export again. When you press import, sometimes, okay, there we go. It'll block off this tab right here. Notice how it's blocked now. All you have to do to fix that is go to upgrades and pick the cheapest upgrade you got. So this thing's 10K. It's cheap. As soon as I click on this, this is going to open up again. It's just a little bug. Don't panic. Just go to your cache upgrades, buy the cheapest one, and it'll open it again. And there is no way to make these last longer. They last, 3,600 ticks. So, depending on what level your chronometer is, that's how long they're going to last. Once you get way up there, it'll be like 3 or 4 minutes before you have to replace them. And I would suggest never buying this. There's no real need for it. With the ability to just drag these cells and increase their heat that way, there's no need to decrease the length of their life. Alright, we're halfway there. See how many exotic particles. Okay, we're up to 1K. So we're about a quarter of the way there. But because we haven't optimized our heat, once we actually switch over, it's going to grow faster. So I think we can get about 30 trillion. I think 30 trillion is what we're going to be getting when we're done. Somewhere around that. Because we're going to be going for our heat. Our heat is what's going to get us our exotic particles. So the more heat we can put out, the better. And then the next part is going to be us playing around with different cell configurations to try to get as close as we can to our maximum heat with using the fewest cells that we can. Because the fewer cells that we use, the more capacitors we'll have and the more vents we can have, which means the higher our heat output can be. So ideally, a perfect amount would be one cell surrounded by, so basically replace this with a cell with 2 reflectors around it. Everything else is capacitors and vents. That's the ideal amount. But we're not going to be able to do that. We're going to probably have 5 or 6 cells, maybe a few more, maybe a few less. But we'll see what we can work out. Alright, just a little bit more. I don't want to stop and then find out that I don't have enough cache, because right now cache is coming really quick. If we take this apart, it's not going to come as quick. Okay, getting close, getting close. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of these guys, get rid of these guys. Fill in this with capacitors. And I'm going to add in another row of these guys. So let's see. Oops. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I don't really know how much space I need for the cells, so I'm just going to estimate that I'm going to need 4 cells, 4 spaces by, let's say, 5. I'm going to use this. I'm going to assume that no matter how many cells I have, it's not going to exceed this, and this is going to be my working space to begin with. So I'm going to calculate how much heat I can maximum dissipate. So I have now 96 vents. 96 times 303.296 equals 29.116. So I'm going to take that number and I'm going to write it down on a piece of paper if I can find a pencil or pen. Okay. So I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to, beside that, I'm going to say that it's with 96 vents. So 96 vents has a max heat output of 22.9 trillion. 29.116 trillion. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I think that I can add another. I think by adding one it's going to go up, so that's what I'm going to start with that assumption. So I'm going to add one more array, and I'm going to recalculate again. So now I'm up to 100 vents. So 100 times 294.188 equals. So now I've gone up. So I've gone up to 29.411. So 418. So it has gone up. So adding more vents has increased my maximum. 29.418 trillion. And I'm going to add one more array. And once again, I'm going to recalculate. So now I'm up to 104 vents. 104 times 285.08 equals 29.648. So I've gone up again. So I'm going to write down this number, 29.648 trillion, and I'm going to add another array. 10 minutes. Okay, we still got enough time. And I'm going to recalculate. So now we're up to 108. 108 vents times 275.972 equals 29.8. So we've gone up a bit. So 108 vents equals 29.804 trillion. And I'm going to add another array. And if you look up on the the Reddit page, there's actually somebody's created a spreadsheet that can help you calculate what your optimum number is, so you don't have to go through this process. But I started out playing this game doing it this way, so this is the way I'm comfortable doing it. So we're up to 112 now, if I remember. 96, 1, 104, 108, 112. So we're up to 112 times 266.864 equals 29.8. So we have increased again. 9.888 trillion. I'll add another 4. And we're up to 116 vents. Okay, so this time it's only gone up a tiny bit, so I think I'm at my max. So this is the maximum number, is 116 vents, and that gives me a max heat output of 29.899. So it's only gone up by 11 billion, give or take, which is nothing compared to what it was going up before. So I think if I add one more array, it'll actually start going down. Okay, so we have a max heat output of 29.899. I'm going to export, and I'm going to start adding in some different configurations of cells. I'm going to start out with this guy here. I'll put him up here, and let's see what happens. So I'm up to 3 trillion. Now, if you remember from the first one, if I put cells together, they will actually make the heat much greater. So let's see, we got that. Let's see if I can add one more. 23. That might be close. I'm going to try adding in one of these guys. 25. 26. 27. 28. I'm going to try adding in another row. And let's see. 29.3. You know what? I'm satisfied with that. Actually, you know what? Let's try one other thing. Let's see if I get rid of 3 of these guys, and maybe if I put in a double. 28. 29.6. 29.6 out of 29.8. That's pretty darn close. I'm satisfied with that. I can play around with it for another 5 minutes, but the amount of time that I'll spend playing around with it is the extra little bit isn't going to do much. So I'm satisfied. I'll put some reflectors in there. They're not really doing anything, obviously. So, but whatever. And if I look, I'm going to assume that this is my final configuration, and I'm going to recalculate. So what did I have? 116 vents, because I have added some more capacitors, which has increased my max. 116 times 272.12 329 equals, I can go up to 31. So I'm going to export, and I'm going to try replacing this guy with a double. 30.8. 30.8. Let's try getting rid of these guys and replace him with this. 28, 29, 30.3, 30.3, 31.4. Okay, that is as close as I'm going to get. So make sure I'm not adding any heat. Okay, and I'll export. Okay, that's our final build. Now all we need to do is just save up our particles. So we'll continue that on the next episode.